Welcome to the Awareness Angle, simplifying cybersecurity awareness. This is the podcast that brings you the latest cybersecurity news from the past week and gives you the awareness angle on it. All views and opinions expressed in this podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our employers. This week we have major retail cyber incident. That's pretty much all we know. Zoom has a remote control feature that crypto thieves are abusing. Google OAuth loophole. Sexploitation is on the rise. Bit more detail about Microsoft Copilot Recall and a few other bits of news. So, that's all on this week's Awareness Angle. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Luke. Hello, Luke.
Hey, Ant.
How are you? How are you this week? You good?
Yeah, no, been good. Short week for us in the UK.
Yes,
Bank
Easter holidays, bank holidays. Yeah. You've been up to anything good?
It's gone, well, not particularly, but it's gone quite fast. It feels like only yesterday we filmed the previous episode.
Yes.
But,
yes.
Yeah.
When you're not at work all week, it does seem to come around quite quickly. And I've been recording a couple of episodes for our interviews series this week as well. So
busy with those.
Yeah, we're building those up, and we've got a couple of really nice ones in the pipeline. The first episode came out today with Erin Gallagher around
last Thursday.
Sorry, last Thursday. We record this on Thursdays. First episode came out. That's already out there for everyone to see with Erin, and feedback on that has been brilliant. More on that later. And then got a couple of really good episodes lined up with Jasmine from the Zensory. And that's a really interesting conversation about how the state of our brains can really change the way we react to cyber incidents and cyber issues. So that's a really interesting conversation. There's a lot to take from that one.
Cool, yeah.
And then today, recorded a great conversation with Amy from the Escape Room Co. So that's escape rooms are something that I've never done. We talked about it a few times, but some of the concerns I had around escape rooms, I put to bed today in a kind of 45-minute conversation with Amy. So that'll be out in a few weeks' time. We're going to release those every 2 weeks probably. So keep an eye. They're all on the usual podcast feed. Right. Should we get on with the show?
Yeah, let's get to the news.
Awesome. Right, let's get on with the news. Right, well, the big news we're going to kick off with this week is that here in the UK, one of our most respected and loved retailers, Marks and Spencer's, have suffered a cyber incident. But we don't know much about it, do we, at the moment?
Yeah, not particularly. They've communicated a lot, and obviously a few news stories about it, but there's no real details, other than obviously the click and collect and contactless systems are currently offline. Yeah,
so we're recording this Thursday. I think the first disruption was recorded at the weekend. Like 5 days ago, people were saying that they were having problems with payments in stores and stuff.
Yeah, I saw it's supposed to be a separate technical issue, but who knows?
That sounds like a coincidence.
Yeah.
So it's the click and collect has been taken offline, and contactless payments are down. So when you go to a store, they've now got someone on the front door going, "Oh, just to let you know, we can't do contactless payments today because my wife went there yesterday." Right. And it was a little delayed going through checkout. Now, interestingly, they haven't, Marks and Spencer's haven't said what the cause of the cyber incident is. Many people on LinkedIn that I see are applauding Marks and Spencer's for their comms, saying it's a masterpiece and comparing it to the British Library and the way it was done and how some companies hide away from it. But the fact that Marks and Spencer's have gone out there and owned it, and your trust, your security is, I can't remember the exact line. There's a line somewhere, Let me just get it up here if I can. You sent me you sent me the notification, didn't you? So I can see it there. There's a line on here which everyone's been lauding. I know how much our customers trust M&S, and that trust is incredibly precious to us, which I thought was quite interesting. The notice doesn't really say a lot. Like, everyone's been applauding it, but it says, last few days, M&S have been managing a cyber incident to protect you in the business. It was necessary to temporarily make some small changes to our store operations. And I'm sincerely sorry if you experienced any inconvenience. Importantly, stores remain open and our website and app are operating as normal. There's no need for you to take any action at this time. And if the situation changes, we will let you know. There may be limited delays to your click and collect order, with which we are working hard to resolve. I know how much our customers trust M&S, and that trust is incredibly precious to us. We've been working hard with the best experts to manage this, and I want to thank them and my colleagues for their hard work. Can I take this opportunity to thank you for shopping with us, and thank you for your continuous support? We really appreciate it. Stuart, M&S Chief Executive. I mean, it doesn't really say, from where I'm sat, it doesn't really say a lot. Like, I'm still left like, is my data safe? There's
still a few questions, isn't there?
They have come out with another statement since. And let me just get that here. So they've since released a further update, which came out Wednesday, the 23rd. And we promised to keep you informed about the cyber incident that's led to some disruption. It continues to be necessary to make some changes to our operations to protect customers in the business. Our stores remain open and customers can continue to shop on our website and on our app. However, we are not currently processing contactless payments. We have paused the collection of click and collect orders in stores, and there may be some delay to online order delivery times. This is the interesting one. We have made the proactive decision to move some of our processes offline to protect our colleagues, partners, suppliers, and our business. We're incredibly grateful for the understanding and support that our customers, colleagues, partners, and suppliers have shown. We are working hard to restore our services and minimize disruption, and are being supported by industry-leading experts. We will continue to update as appropriate. So they've moved stuff offline. Processes have been moved offline. Sounds like ransomware to me, but I'm no expert. But let's not speculate, but I'm speculating. The fact that they're taking systems, their processes offline would make me think that either those processes aren't safe online, or the way everything's connected perhaps isn't working. Interestingly, my wife went in there yesterday and made a purchase. That money hasn't left our bank account yet. And it's not a credit card. It was a debit card. So they haven't actually taken the payment. She got a receipt and everything. So she paid for it.
Someone's sat there behind the scenes processing it.
Well, that's maybe. Like, it makes you wonder, like, we need to keep the stores open, but we can't process payments, but we need to keep the stores open. So let's just accept the loss for a few days. I don't know. It's, there's a lot happening behind the scenes here that we're not aware of.
I'm sure we'll update in the future episode. Yeah.
A bit like Royal Mail. That
one's just fallen off. Yeah. No one knows about that one.
Yeah. But that's probably what they want. So, yeah.
Well, there's doing this sort of communication that M&S have done, and then there's doing what Royal Mail have done, which I don't think is anything.
I think
M&S... I've not seen it, but...
M&S should be applauded for at least communicating and keeping communicating. Like, the average Joe or Joanne in the street will probably appreciate this and their mind will be at rest. There is no mention about customer data. There is no mention about your data is safe, which, if they had confidence that they could say that, I would imagine they would say that. You do not need to worry, your data is safe. So there is, I think, potentially we might be hearing about a data breach. I don't know, but let's see. These are just my opinions. I have no insider knowledge or anything. So, yeah, it's interesting. There's more to come. on this. I think
Yeah.
definitely. Right, that's Marks and Spencer's. We'll move on to the next one, which is Zoom, my second favorite online conference tool. Hackers are abusing a little known, well, it's not little known anymore. Hackers are abusing a little known Zoom feature to take control of their victims' computers, installing malware and stealing cryptocurrency. Well, they can't steal any cryptocurrency from me, but there we go. This feature is named Remote Control and is part of Zoom's accessibility suite, where it's included for users with various disabilities to allow other users in the same meeting to control their PC. So you could take control of my PC if I gave you access. A cybercrime group named Elusive Comet has incorporated this secret Zoom feature into their social engineering attacks and have successfully stolen millions of US dollars worth of crypto assets from their victims. According to the Security Alliance, the cybersecurity team with members from across the community, cyber cryptocurrency community, the group operates by reaching out to prominent figures in the cryptocurrency community via Twitter DMs. They pose as venture capital firms, podcast hosts, and reporters to invite them to Zoom video conferences. So, this is actually really clever. The trick, so how they're pulling this, the trick is that one member of the group also joins the meeting, but with the generic name of Zoom, which they then use to request remote control to a victim's system. And the trick here is because the participant, because the video conference participant is named Zoom, the pop-up asking the victim to grant remote control access looks like it's coming from the program Zoom. And let me just show you this. So those of you that are watching you can see this right here. Zoom is requesting remote control of your screen. You can regain control at any time by clicking on your screen. So I think that's quite clever. It's quite clever.
That'll be patched soon, if not already, but you can't use the name Zoom.
Yes. That name is not allowed in this conference. Yeah. So, this has been written up. There's a blog post and a few other things talking about this, and we'll put all of those in this week's newsletter. But it's amazing, isn't it, that people will find a way. How they've found the way to do this is, just sticking all the pieces together. I think is really, really interesting. Yeah. So that was in Risky Businesses newsletter, which is no relation to Risky Creative, but that's another cyber business. We'll put a link to that in the newsletter as well. If you haven't got the newsletter yet, the newsletter is available at riskycreative.com. It goes out every week with every episode, and you can also get it on LinkedIn. Just search for the Awareness Angle newsletter, and you will find it. Right. Shall I move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Google OAuth loophole to evade Gmail security. So, a sophisticated phishing, and I think the whole cyber community, I think, has been talking about this over the past week. The sophisticated phishing attack exploits a loophole in Google's OAuth infrastructure, which raises significant concerns about Gmail security. So, security researcher Nick Johnson shared details of the attack via social media, underscoring the urgent need for Google to address this vulnerability. And I believe Google have addressed this vulnerability now. But OAuth is the technology that lets users log into third-party apps using their credentials. This is normally, or should be, secure and seamless, but cyber criminals have found a way to weaponize this. According to Johnson, attackers carefully craft phishing emails that appear to come from trusted contacts. These emails invite recipients to click a link that initiates a legitimate-looking Google OAuth authentication flow. This exploit uses authentic Google pages, making it difficult to detect. So I believe this one's using Google Sites again, which we'd spoken about previously a few episodes ago. Do you remember when we spoke? Was it Sydney Zoo and the... that was the Sydney Zoo
Google
one,
ads.
wasn't it? With the fake Google ads. And they had a fake Google ads page hosted at a Google Sites address. It was absolute madness that was allowed. So, and it's all, this is the problem, because Google trusts itself, but users are able to create stuff. So, yeah, there's, this is a fairly technical one, but I think what we need to do is tell our users to keep an eye out for emails asking them to authenticate or asking them to click and then authenticate. Everyone's been talking about this week, and we'll find a good article to link to in the newsletter. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I guess things to look out for, isn't it? Like you said, going somewhere that then asks you to authenticate if you're not expecting it. Obviously, not to interact with it. Often, those permissions will be able to get access to various things with your Google account, which I guess is what this is going for. Yeah, being able to access your emails potentially without needing your password or multi-factor. It's quite scary.
Yeah. It's in this all overly connected world where you sign in with everything. OAuth's brilliant from a security perspective, but it has a lot of trust, doesn't it? It's I use OAuth all over the place. It's great because it means you don't have to sign in again and again and again. But when that gets abused, it's
like Chrome extensions, isn't it? Like you get a lot of permissions through a Chrome extension.
Yes, very risky. Right. The next one was something that actually Ollie, we used to work with Ollie sent to me and I thought it was quite interesting. And it's, I'm going to play you this bit of footage from, let me just play this for you. So this is on Twitter, and I don't Twitter or X a lot. But this is from a British TV program called Good Morning Britain. And this is a post where it says so-called sextortion is up by 43%. And in here, Nathan McKeelan fell victim after a conversation on Snapchat with a girl he initially thought was legitimate, but later demanded he pay £3,000 or have private pictures of him leaked.
Is when I got home from the holiday, she started sending me explicit pictures of herself in the shower, and she wanted to see me. So I thought to myself, like, there's only really one thing I can send her here. Sent that, and she wanted to see more of me. She then wanted a full body picture of me. To stand up and get a picture of me in the mirror, get my face in it. And that's when like red flags started appearing, and then I wasn't for doing it. I was like, nah, it's not happening. And next thing you know, screenshots were sent over of this picture I just sent her. Pictures of my face from the week prior when I was on holiday.
Right.
But usually on Snapchat, if somebody takes a screenshot, you get a notification that they've took a screenshot of you. This didn't happen at all.
So they blocked it somehow?
Yeah, no idea how. Just they managed just to get screenshots of it.
Then she said, or he said, or the gang said, we don't know, presumably, send us money.
Yeah.
So what did you feel at that point? Because I think most people's heart would just drop.
Yeah, I remember I was just lying in bed, and then next minute I was jumped up. I was like, okay. I was like, need to get quick at it here. Like, I couldn't really believe this was happening to me. But I needed to find a way to like nip this here before obviously the images got out. She already sent me screenshots of my followers on multiple social media apps. And
we'll put the link to the full video in the newsletter, but that's an interesting one. I don't Snapchat. I haven't Snapchatted in years.
It's obviously not a news story, that kind of thing, is it? Like we saw before, where people are getting scammed by so-called, imitations of celebrities, for money and stuff like that. But so
it's interesting that he said there that they'd sent screenshots, and I know Snapchat does have a feature when someone takes a screenshot using the usual screenshot tools.
Yeah,
that it notifies you. It always notifies you that a screenshot's been taken. I can think of a couple of ways that it would be possible to get around that. Potentially, like for example, on the news. What were you going to say?
You can screen record your phone, which I just did a quick search. Apparently, that is a way of getting around it.
Right. I was going to say as well, if you screen record on your Mac, the Macs now have a feature to use your phone on your Mac. So it kind of, it's like almost like displays your phone screen on your Mac. So I wonder if I was screen recording on my Mac, that would also allow it. So don't trust that the apps are safe, because if it's on a screen, it can be saved. You could even take a photo of the phone in the crudest way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
just got to be careful with these online dating and online social media really doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You could probably verify, like, if you met someone in real life, they could still do this. So just got to be careful, really.
They could be playing the long game. Like, you could have met them on holiday and they might have been lovely for a couple of nights, and then you get home and actually they're going to get £3,000 out of you, and that pays for them to have another 2 holidays, and then they do this to another 2 people and it pays for another 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That maybe that's how they fund their holidays, by finding victims to do stuff like this. It's like, just don't, and tell your friends and family. This isn't like the typical kind of story we talk about, but it's cyber awareness, right? Be aware of the people that you might be speaking to on these apps and on these tools. And
this is just a random chap as well. It's not like anybody famous or whatever. Like,
he's not a big target. I don't know who he is, but I'm guessing that he's just a normal everyday guy. It's we're all potential victims in stuff like this. Everyone, none of us, none of us would want photos. Well, some people would, but many of us wouldn't want photos like that getting out. So it's if you do send photos like that, you're going to try and protect them, because you're going to worry about the impact they could have on your family or your friends or your other relationships in your life. So yes. I thought that was quite an interesting one, though. It was, the fact that it's nice, just to say as well, it's nice to see stuff like this getting talked about, at 7:15 in the morning on Good Morning Britain. So, and that's like on one of the big, on ITV. So it's on one of the big TV channels. Right, we'll move on. Copilot. So Copilot, there was an article I saw this week. We spoke about Copilot Recall last week, and this is the new feature in Windows that was going to come out last year and then got pulled because of, bad backlash from the general population. This is the tool that takes a screenshot of your desktop every 30 seconds. Every interaction you have with your device, every key you press, mouse you click, every window you open, close, minimize and move, it takes a record of. And when you delete WhatsApps and Signal messages, they don't get deleted from Recall. So it's all there to help you recall what you did. And the data's all kept locally on your device, but isn't as secure as it could be, really. So there was an article I saw on Ars Technica. Ars Technica or ARS Technica? I don't know. I'm going to go with ARS Technica.
Yeah, probably the same.
Yeah. So there was an article on there this week, and it said, in depth with Windows 11 Recall and what Microsoft has and hasn't fixed. The original botch launch still haunts new version of data scraping AI feature. Just that, like data scraping AI. That's a really scared way to talk about it. So the article says, here's some basic facts about how recall works on a PC. Since there's a lot of FUD circulating about this, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And much of the information on the internet is about the older, insecure version from last year. So that's a lot of what we spoke about last week was based on that. So the new version. Recall is per user. Setting up recall for one user does not turn it on for all users of the PC. Recall does not require a Microsoft account, but very soon you need a Microsoft account to run Windows, I think. Recall does not require an internet connection or any cloud-side processing to work. Recall does require local disk space to be encrypted with device encryption, BitLocker. Recall does require Windows Hello and either a fingerprint reader or face scanning camera for setup, though once it's set up, it can be unlocked with a Windows Hello PIN. Windows Hello authentication happens every time you open the Recall app. Enabling Recall and changing its settings does not require an administrator account, and it can be uninstalled entirely. Just to address a couple of those points, it says it does require your local disk to be encrypted, but last week we said that that only keeps your data safe if your device is turned off. Like once your data is turned on, everything's decrypted because it needs to be accessed. So info stealers can still get at it. So yeah, essentially a lot of it's the same. It's possible to delete the entire database or all recent snapshots, those from the past hour, day, week, or month. So for apps and sites you don't want to end up in recall, you can manually add them to the exclusion list in the settings app. So people will be pleased to know that they can add Pornhub to the exclusions list. That can be done. As a rule, major browsers running in private or incognito modes are also generally not snapshotted. So last week we were told that Chrome incognito was. That says generally not snapshotted. It's a bit fluffy. I ran an in-private Microsoft Edge window next to a regular window. No one uses in-private Edge, surely. And Microsoft's solution is just to avoid capturing and storing screenshots entirely rather than filtering or blanking out the filtered app. So if you're using a blocked app alongside another app, it just stops taking screenshots. So it kind of kills it rather than just blurring out half the screen, which is probably good. There are still technical issues with it. The automated content filtering is hit and miss. There's not a way to tell Recall to exclude apps by default, which would be useful for password managers and encrypted messaging apps. But the interesting part, at the bottom of this article, it says most of what's wrong with Recall is harder to fix. So Microsoft have addressed many of the specific substantial recall complaints raised by security researchers and ARS Technica's own reporting. It's gone through the standard Windows testing process and has been available in public preview in its current form since November. Yet the knee-jerk reaction to recall news is still generally to treat it as though it was the same botched, bug-riddled software that nearly shipped last summer. Articles about recall having problems have been read many, many more times by many more people than pieces about the steps Microsoft has taken to fix recall. The latter reports aren't being encountered by many of the minds Microsoft needs to change. So there's a political mindset against this. Regardless of how this is architected and regardless of how many privacy policies and reassurances the company publishes, people simply don't trust Microsoft enough to be excited about the feature that records and stores every single thing you do with your PC. it continues to demand an extraordinary level of trust that Microsoft hasn't earned. So, yeah, I think that's the problem. They screwed it up so badly first time round that now many people aren't going to do it. And this person says, this is brilliant. It made the ugly first impression that it's hard to dig out from under, no matter how thoroughly you fix the underlying problem. It's Windows Vista, it's Apple Maps, it's the Android tablet. And in doing that kind of damage to recall, Microsoft has practically guaranteed that many users will refuse to turn it on or uninstall it entirely. Yeah. Someone says, I can see no signs that recall data is as easily accessed or compromised as before, and that Microsoft is sending any recall data from my PC to anywhere else. But today's Microsoft has earned itself distrust by default by many users. So I don't think much has changed on that. I'd still be worried about that, like on a corporate device. Many corporate devices, like Big Brother, I would imagine there's some corporations that would want to turn this on. And then you got to start thinking, do I access social media? Do I access, do I do my shopping? What do I do on a corporate device? And yes, it's given to you for work to do work, but there's often something in there that says you can do your own personal stuff there. They're going to be seeing this. Like, it's Big Brother more than ever.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't enable it personally.
No.
But yeah, something I saw in that article was the security researcher, Kevin Beaumont, who was the person who researched it previously when it was its first iteration, went through and did it again. And something they saw was, and there's a bunch of issues, but one of the major ones was their credit card details were captured in one of those recall screenshots, which contains their card number, the CVV, three-digit thing, and then and expiry date and all that. So it has like automated filtering, but it's not perfect. I guess as any automation.
I know from credit card numbers and stuff like that. In my experience, and I haven't touched this stuff for years, but it used to be really difficult to kind of filter out with basic DLP because order numbers and stuff like that can end up looking the same. And you would have thought that maybe they were smart enough to know that, but I suppose it's the point when it gets OCR'd, right? If they're OCRing it and the OCR picks up a number and identifies that as a credit card number, then it should go through and delete the screenshot and stuff as well. But if it's not doing that,
I mean, it's you think it'd be quite easy if the screen has card number, expiry fields, CVV fields to block that, but apparently not. I
still don't see the benefit. I don't see why. I still don't see in a world where massive data breaches happen. Massive collections of data, having all your data in one place. So, when it gets popped, that's everything. And I don't mean password managers because that's a bit different. But, in a world of, that this little database of crown jewels of data where you can profile someone and find out their payment details and everything, everything you need to know about someone will be in this one database that is in the same place on every Windows device. So I'm going to make something that will specifically target that and extract that. And then I can hold all these people to ransom, or I can still it's just making an easy target that is, I don't have enough faith in Microsoft's Windows to not be, just because of its sheer scale and the amount of users, it's not going to be secure. People will find a way into it. And if there's no real clear reason why it should be there, if the wins aren't so great, the losses are huge against this. So on a pros and cons list right now, the cons are winning completely. It's
that's definitely one for businesses to think about when they get a new device that has these Copilot Plus features. Yeah,
it's funny. Right. The last bit of news I wanted to mention this week was Google's antitrust trial, as we know, is underway in America. The government is angling to realign Google's business as Google have been too successful and they've done too well, and they should be punished for that. I think this is, yes, Google's huge and are everywhere, but like, yes, they've earned that plate. That's a separate conversation. But essentially, the US government is looking at breaking up Google, and one way they were looking at doing that was forcing Google to sell off Chrome browser. And an OpenAI executive says that OpenAI would be interested in buying Chrome. So ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI. So second day of a trial, head of product for ChatGPT at OpenAI, Nick Turley. He wasn't there to talk about Chrome exclusively, but he basically said OpenAI is in bed with, it says OpenAI is in bed with Microsoft. Bing's search data wasn't cutting it, Turley suggested, without naming Microsoft. We believe having multiple partners, and in particular Google's APIs, would enable us to provide a better product to users. So, according to Turley, OpenAI would throw its proverbial hat in the ring if Google had to sell. When asked if OpenAI would want Chrome, he was unequivocal. Yes, we would, as would many other parties. So apparently OpenAI have considered launching a browser, a Chromium-based browser to compete with Chrome, and they've hired some Google developers as well. Both the two developers they hired worked to bring Chrome to market. I read something as well that someone from DuckDuckGo, which is another search engine, when asked how much they suspected Chrome would be valued at, they reckon $50 billion for Google Chrome.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I see why ChatGPT, why OpenAI would want Chrome, right? Because all of that data, like the browsing data of everyone, what's making people tick, you could train you could train a model on that all day long. But everyone's worried about AI knowing everything we do. That surely that's surely another antitrust issue right there. If everything we browse on the internet, is being.
Just seeing some comments, someone said that none of this feels like a remedy, and then someone else said, suddenly I'd rather Google keep it.
Yeah. It's I don't know. There's been no talk about spinning it off into its own company, and I suppose, I mean, how do you monetize it? But I suppose data is money. Like many of Google's services, Google do have premium services as well. I know I read today Google make 200, I don't know whether this was monthly or annually, but they make a $200 loss, I think, on every Gemini user, which is huge.
Right.
And apparently ChatGPT make a loss on every user of ChatGPT as well, but it's the end product that we're going for. Right. I'll whiz through the rest of this week's news.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Interlock Ransomware claims Davita attack leaks stolen data. So Davita, which is a major US kidney care provider, has confirmed a ransomware attack on April the 12th, now claimed by the Interlock ransomware gang, which has leaked 1.5 terabytes of alleged stolen data, which includes sensitive patient records, insurance info, and financial details. Davita's working with the FBI and cybersecurity experts to investigate and validate the breach, and has pledged to notify affected individuals as required. Patients are advised to stay alert for phishing attempts as the company continues its response. Cookie Byte Entra ID attack exposes Microsoft 365. Researchers have uncovered a stealthy attack named Cookie Byte that allows hackers to hijack Azure Entra ID sessions by stealing 2 key authentication cookies. used for Microsoft 365 services like Outlook and Teams. Discovered by Varonis, the method enables MFA bypass and persistent access without user credentials, using only a browser extension and PowerShell automation. Attackers can exfiltrate cookies from active sessions and inject them into their own browsers to impersonate users, move laterally, and exfiltrate data. The exploit is hard to detect and doesn't rely on malware, prompting experts to urge organizations to improve browser security policies and session monitoring. That's tough. A lot of browser security and session monitoring is tough for a lot of companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stephen Bartlett's AI warning. So in a recent LinkedIn post, Diary of a CEO host Stephen Bartlett has warned that hundreds of AI-generated deepfake ads using his likeness have appeared on Meta and X, promoting scam campaigns. Despite raising the issue internally at Meta, how powerful he is, he says the platforms have been unable to stop the spread, leaving individuals to protect themselves. He shares some practical advice for navigating a deep fake world. Set a trusted code word for urgent requests. Double check money transfers on a separate channel. Teach loved ones the red flags. Limit content that can train AI models. And report fake ads immediately. Bartlett says he's weighing up next steps, but the message is clear. Deep fakes are no longer a future threat. They're here now. If you're Stephen Bartlett. They are here now. I'm just not a fan of Stephen Bartlett. Next, ransomware gang takes a page from Elon's "What did you do this week?" Doge emails. So this bizarre new ransomware campaign from the Fog gang is mixing memes, politics, and phishing to extort victims with ransom notes demanding they list their work accomplishments, parodying Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Trend Micro and Cybel uncovered Doge-themed related notes referencing Edward Corristine, aka Big Balls, alleging ties to Musk's initiative and threatening victims with lines like, "Give me 5 bullet points on what you accomplished for work last week, or you owe me $1 trillion. The ransomware often spread via payadjustment.zip, phishing attachments, deploys PowerShell scripts to encrypt files, and includes politically charged messages and YouTube links. Victims are asked to pay $1,000 in Monero or to infect others in exchange for a free decryptor. With over 100 claimed victims since January, security researchers warn enterprises to add Fog ransomware to their threat watch lists. That's an interesting take. I don't know. I don't recall seeing that before. Victims are asked to pay $1,000 in Monero or infect others in exchange for a free decryptor.
Yeah. What do you do?
I can think of some people I'd like to infect, so I'd know what I'd do. It's careful. You keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's an interesting one. It's what a mad world. Give me 5 bullet points on what you accomplished for work last week, or you owe me $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Just taking the joke out of that though, if it's spread via a file called payadjustment.zip, zip files can't be scanned by many malware tools, right? So it's question, like you can put filters in place, so it's worth questioning who needs to receive zip files to their corporate email address. And maybe here's a good story to say, maybe we should stop people receiving zip files, or we have an exclusion list. We block it and say, if you need to receive zip files as part of your work, please contact us. Just limit the attack vector.
Yeah, I guess as well, some way blocking PowerShell scripts from being run on anybody's machine. I guess it's targeting those with admin rights or using an admin account.
Yeah, possibly. It's again, who, and that's something someone commented a few weeks ago on one of our videos, like who's letting their users have admin rights. And I think you'd be surprised at how poor some of the endpoint hardening is in some organizations. I think. Yeah. Right, shall we go to the comments section?
Yeah, go over it.
Cool. Right. We had some cool comments on TikTok this week. So I shared some shorts of what we discuss on TikTok, and some people raised some interesting thoughts on these. So we did a video last week. We spoke about fake WhatsApp and Telegram apps appearing on cheap Android devices with the idea that they would be stealing crypto. Someone commented on that. Low-end phones with targeting crypto. Weird. If you don't have money for a high-end phone, why would you have money for crypto?
So,
I get the point. But if it didn't work, people wouldn't do it, I don't think.
Yeah.
In response
it
to
all adds up as well, I guess. If they get a little bit here and there.
I mean, if it's really easy to run these things, then they can just, churn them out. And if they get 1 in 100, that's something. Yeah. With regards to recall, someone asked, can we opt out? And I replied and said, yes, you can. Someone said, I'd done a fresh install, say 6 months ago, and removed Copilot. Done an update the other day, and Copilot popped up on my notepad. And they've done a reg edit and a service change, and it's gone again. So it is one of those things that, it will worm its way back in probably. Yeah. Someone said, as long as it's local and your boss doesn't force it on your work laptop, I don't see the problem. Regarding work laptops, I see a real problem, and with law enforcement overreach. So that's an interesting, maybe this looks very different depending on where you are in the world, as far as how big is Big Brother? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone else said, yeah, but Microsoft has been nicking data since Windows XP. So, yes. We also had a comment. I shared one. We spoke about a couple of weeks ago about 0 days on Apple devices. And someone commented and said, what if one's device is I've just realized that. What if one's device is too old to update to that? So if your Apple device is too old to update, there's really not a lot you can do. That device is insecure. And occasionally, I think I've seen 2 or 3 times where there's been something so severe, the insecurity, the vulnerability has been so great that they've gone back and patched a long unsupported system. But I've only seen that 2 or 3 times. It may have been. Yeah. I'm trying to think. That may have happened. What was the big one that I spoke about that? I can't remember what it was called.
I can't remember.
Yeah, there was the big vulnerability that, I worked a weekend on 7-8 years ago. I can't remember what it was called. Very rarely they will go back and patch out of support systems. But if your system is out of support, it's out of support. It's that you're just running with all the vulnerabilities that it may have. So if you are running an old iPad, maybe if you can afford it, it's time to probably upgrade if you want to be secure. Just a couple more comments. We're recording this Thursday, the day we launched our interview with Erin Gallagher, and Erin, she doesn't phish. We got some great comments here. Lucy Finley, who is delivery director at Think Cyber. Finally, although I'm a fan of phishing sensibly, a no phishing simulation approach is great. It's a crutch we need to throw in the bin. Very interesting in how her auditors and seniors reacted when there was no click rate metric to tell them that the human risk issue was solved. Sarcasm, just in case it isn't obvious. So I quite like that. Yeah. And then Phil Mayer as well. Phil says there's some really compelling evidence on both sides of the debate regarding phishing simulations. Personally, I'm leaning towards using them, but totally get why some companies shy away, especially if email isn't a major communication tool for internal teams. But here's the thought. How are they communicating with external parties? It would be fascinating to see what their email gateway data reveals. If email isn't a big part of their communication strategy, does that leave them more vulnerable? Which I think is quite an interesting take. When you do decide to use simulations, a solid communication strategy is key to engaging people. Plus, choosing the right tool is crucial. Using a tool that removes biases and automates the process can really help control the click rate, making it harder to skew the results. And I agree, a report rate is more important. I mean, we did that, didn't we? Last year, we launched KnowBe4 and to get together, because we were working together at that time, and we did a massive fanfare, brought all the users on the journey with us, and made videos and digital signage and all sorts to tell people what we were doing and why we were doing it. And that was really, really powerful, I think, really important.
Yeah, no, definitely do that if that's what if you're bringing out any tool, really.
Yeah.
Always talk about it in advance.
Absolutely.
Saves a lot of people asking what something is when they've already been aware of it a few times before, but you're always going to get someone that wonders somehow they haven't seen your comms, but you don't do this so much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. That was all the comments for this week. Just a couple of awareness bits. And these are really shameless plugs. If you are in the north of England or are you near Leeds on Tuesday, which 29th of April, the day after this episode comes out, I will be in Leeds at the Leeds Digital Festival and a panel discussion hosted by Pentest People. And it's the cyber threats keeping CISOs awake. I'm going up to Leeds. It's hosted at a great venue called The Granary, and it's at 5:30 p.m. So if you're in or around Leeds, get yourself there. There's a good chunk of people. It's going to be a really good panel discussion with a great panel of people. So a great panel of people. That sounds like a tongue twister. Yes, really looking forward to that. So get yourself to The Granary in Leeds. Details of that are in the newsletter and show notes. And after that, the 7th of May, Wednesday, the 7th of May, I'm on a webinar hosted by Red Flags from Think Cyber. It's myself, Simon Meyer from, he's CISO at Huguenot, and Phil Guest, who's their chief go-to-market officer at Think Cyber. And that's going to be a discussion about engaging leadership from the top down. So it's going to be about communicating the way leadership communicate. I'm really looking forward to that as well.
That sounds like a good one. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate the stuff that comes from that one.
Yeah.
It's always sometimes difficult to get that buy-in.
It can be so simple as well. It needs such it can be so little, but have such an impact. I mean, we spoke a while ago. I remember some business goals being delivered, and I remember commenting, it's a shame that the word secure wasn't in any of them. Like, just having that one word can be so powerful, and that can be a springboard for so much more. But yeah. Right. There was in an episode where I thought there was no news. We're so far into the podcast before we've got to the topic section. So I'm going to whiz through these. I'm going to whiz through these because time is getting on. Okay. There was a couple of things I saw on Reddit this week that I thought were quite interesting, and they're kind of cyber related. And this one I saw on the subreddit, which is called Kids Are Effing Stupid. It came up on my feed, and I love this. It's a post from Hardware Gore, and it basically says, daughter decided to prank me by putting a USB killer in place of my regular flash drive with music. Now the whole electrical system of the car is screwed. Dashboard gets stuck with all these lights, with engine refusing to start. And to make matters worse, fuses were okay. And the top comment, you can see the picture here, just to show everyone, is a dashboard with all the warning lights. I don't speak the language that the warning message is in, but
doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. The top comment, lobotomized car. The second comment is, the question is more like, how did the kid get a USB killer? And then the comments are Temu, Shein, Wish, Alibaba, AliExpress. Like, these things are quite, you can get them easy. Nearly every computer is vulnerable to USB killers. It's not common practice to isolate a USB port with a fuse. And then someone says, I'm not sure I understand how the car would be disabled using one. And it says USB killers are usually capacitor based with voltage transformation circuitry and discharge a massive amount of voltage at once into the car's wiring and ECU. Since the ECU controls all power functions of the car in some way or another, it's pretty likely that some of the components got fried. So, yeah, that's probably going to be an expensive repair bill. And a reason why you shouldn't just plug in random USB devices into your computer.
Definitely one there for family awareness.
Yes.
Teach your kids not to get a USB killer.
So when I show you the next Reddit post, this is from r/weird. Random flash drive left in my windshield wiper. This was left in my windshield wiper after spending the night at a friend's house in an apartment complex. I'm going to eat dinner and then plug it into an old Raspberry Pi and see what's on it. Wish me luck, I guess. So this is a picture of a USB drive and it has a bit of paper in the bag that says, the truth is one, the falsehood is many. So the poster did come back and say, turn the Wi-Fi off and run it on your Ubuntu. It was a bunch of Islamic prayers and street interviews. Clicked on all the suspicious looking titles, but it was all interviews with people arguing about the topics. They were expecting to find some cursed video, but instead, yeah. I mean, at least they've done it the right way, right? They've plugged it into a device that, was disposable.
Isolated, yeah. Well, yeah, that as well.
There was another one I saw this week. I don't know, this stuff just lands in my lap. This literally came up on my feed. A man gave this to me on the way home, said there's music on it. I'm afraid to install it onto anything. Top result, find a £20 laptop off Craigslist or whatever. If I was this is the best comment of the night, right? If I was Elvis Presley and I'd faked my own death and had been hiding all these years, living peacefully and recording music, this is exactly how I'd release it. Just saying. Yeah. Not a song out there worth risking getting hacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing that it's natural for humans to want to, they're very intrigued by these sorts of things and they want to see what's on it.
But not everyone would consider that. Some people not everyone would consider the risks of this. I saw another one. I saw another one a couple of weeks ago, and it was a CD that had been posted through the door with lots of unusual writing on, and then it had an A3 sheet of paper with lots of unusual writing on. And the post was like, "What is this?" And then loads of other people in and around London posted I got one through my door too. I got one through my door too, all sharing the photos. And again, that was something religious, but the intrigue for someone to go, I'll put that into my computer. And luckily on that case, a lot of people don't have CD drives anymore, but just these things can be really USB killers, kill your car. You know what I mean? I'm not sure warranty would cover you for a USB killer. So be careful what you're plugging into your device. And that's something, those are all things you should tell your people, because it could be a work device that fries. It could be ransomware. It could be, anything. My camera's just gone off. That's strange.
It's gone black.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Hey, Google, turn on off his camera. That's strange. Okay. It's back. Don't worry.
Maybe someone plugged in a USB killer.
Maybe just as we're talking about that. Right. What was the last one I had? The last one I had was something I saw on LinkedIn. So every week I tend to share an interesting LinkedIn post, and I couldn't share the Stephen Bartlett one because I've blocked Stephen Bartlett on LinkedIn, but that's a separate story. He just seems to come up on my feed all the time, and I'm not interested in what he's got to say. Right. Sorry. Ran over. This one I saw come up on my newsfeed, and this is from Colleen Faria, and she's a technical recruiter. She's also open to work for the moment, I think, judging by her image. So if you are looking for a recruiter, heads up LinkedIn network. Recently, I was approached by 6 different accounts, all with fake names, fake credentials, and fewer than 3 connections. Each one asked for my resume. Classic phishing. I didn't take the bait. It's frustrating that even on a professional platform, we have to stay on high alert. If a recruiter messages you asking for your resume, don't be afraid to push back. Ask for the official job posting or request a company email to verify their legitimacy. Your resume contains sensitive personal information. Protect it like you would any other private data. Stay sharp, blocked, and reported. I thought that was a really, really good point. We've talked about fake LinkedIn accounts before, but like when you're looking for work and you're like eager, like, oh yeah, I'll give you a copy of my. I've seen people with their CV posted on LinkedIn, available for all to see. And I mean, for me, that's, think about the social profile someone could build up of you. If they have your CV, they know where you are. Oh, we used to work together at, do you not remember me? Yeah, what was it, 94, 95, that kind of thing, I've just looked, actually, one of my friends, and I knew I'd seen this before, he's still got his full CV. He's got his full CV on his LinkedIn, which has everything he's worked, his performance, has his personal email address, has his mobile number.
Time to do some social engineering.
Everywhere he's worked since 1986, and it's got stuff about his hobbies as well, and his personal website. So, like, I could build a complete social profile from that. It's yeah. So protect your CV. Think of it as personal data, and only share it with those who are privileged to know. If someone contacts you, like they said, keep an eye out for. Ask them for the official listing, ask them for the job posting, or ask them to confirm that they actually represent the company they are, as Colleen said there. I think that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Right. Did you have any topics this week?
Nothing in particular, really. We can probably finish up with yours there.
Okay, that's cool. This I'll squeeze this last one in, and this was something I saw. So this is from Alex C. Alex C is a cyber and physical security tester. And let me just get this up again, and I'll read this to you. So this is another LinkedIn post. So while attending a security event in Birmingham this month, so that would have been the national, where the National Cybersecurity show was. There was physical security there as well.
Yeah.
Whilst attending a security event in Birmingham this month, I came across a company showcasing a smart door. It looked impressive, sleek, solid, and priced just shy of £5,000. All the smart tech was built directly into the door, so there was no need for a third-party hardware cluttering up the setup. One of the team was enthusiastically talking me through the technology packed into this door, clearly passionate about it. After a bit of a chat, he asked about what I do, and I explained that I test both cyber and physical security. And that's when he asked how I'd go about exploiting this door. I told him I wouldn't try to exploit the door itself. I'd target the people using it. All I'd need is a cheap hot glue stick. He looked puzzled, so I explained that no matter how advanced the technology, it's often the human element that's the weak point. I'm going to come back to that. Most people won't think to glance behind them as they leave. When I first learned about this trick, the attacker used a pencil, but I found a glue stick works better. It's quieter and doesn't snap like a pencil. If you're familiar with the pencil method, try a glue stick instead. Often the most everyday items can be repurposed for the simplest yet most effective exploits. A smart door that closes smoothly every time can lull people into a false sense of security. Something as basic as training staff to check the door is shut behind them before walking to their car can significantly strengthen your physical security, and in doing so, bolster your cyber defenses as well. that. So I gather dropping a pencil in the door to prop it open at the last minute, or a glue stick, because glue sticks don't snap, they're clear, it's maybe not as visible, maybe look more out of place than a pencil might. Someone could drop a pencil.
Yeah.
But that line, no matter how advanced the technology, it's often the human element that's the weak point. Amen to that. That's like the whole reason we do these jobs, do these podcasts. That's the whole reason we exist, professionally, right?
I think a lot of people do often don't focus so much on the physical side of it as well. It's always the technical and the computers and the systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting physical access to something, is protecting something is half the, physically protecting it is half the battle sometimes, because if you've got access to it, you can plug stuff in and start like playing with stuff.
USB killers.
Right, that's all we've got time for this week. Yes, so out there at the moment is the awareness interview with Erin Gallagher. That's available wherever you get your episodes. So if you haven't listened yet, listen to that. It's a really good conversation. Erin doesn't fish. So it's an interesting take. And coming out in just a couple of weeks is my conversation with Jasmine from The Zensory. It's about mindfulness and how our mood and emotion, our kind of primal instincts can really dictate how we react to a phishing email. So that's quite an interesting conversation. Spoiler alert.
That sounds good.
There's a little bit of mindfulness right at the end of that as well, which is took me by surprise, but it was something Jasmine offered and I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. So
live on a podcast.
Live on a podcast. Yeah. Right. Sign up for the newsletter if you haven't. Follow us on LinkedIn, share this with your friends, tell everyone about the awareness angle. We got to number 17 this week in the UK tech news chart, which is good. We're happy with that. Yeah. So keep listening. Good. Thank you for listening. Share us loudly and proudly, and we'll see you all next week.
Yeah. Catch you next week.
Bye, everyone.